The Lottery Ticket by Anton Chekhov. Ivan Dmitritch, a middle-class man who lived with his family on an income of 1,200 a year and was very well satisfied with his lot, sat down on the sofa after supper and began reading the newspaper. "I forgot to look at the newspaper today," his wife said to him as she cleared the table. "Look and see whether the list of drawings is there." "Yes, it is," said Ivan Dmitritch. "But hasn't your ticket lapsed?" "No, I took the interest on Tuesday." "What is the number?" "Series 9, 499, number 26." "All right, we will look. 9, 499 and 26." Ivan Dmitritch had no faith in lottery luck, and would not, as a rule, have consented to look at the lists of winning numbers, but now, as he had nothing else to do and as the newspaper was before his eyes, he passed his finger downwards along the column of numbers. And immediately, as though in mockery of his scepticism, no further than the second line from the top, his eye was caught by the figure 9499. Unable to believe his eyes, he hurriedly dropped the paper on his knees without looking to see the number of the ticket, and, just as though someone had given him a douche of cold water, he felt an agreeable chill in the pit of his stomach, tingling and terrible and sweet. "Masha, 9499 is there," he said in a hollow voice. His wife looked at his astonished and panic-stricken face and realized that he was not joking. "9499?" she asked, turning pale and dropping the folded tablecloth on the table. Yes, it really is there." "And the number of the ticket?" "Oh yes, there's the number of the ticket too. But stay, wait! No, I say! Anyway, the number of our series is there. Anyway, you understand." Looking at his wife, Ivan Dmitritch gave a broad, senseless smile, like a baby when a bright object is shown it. His wife smiled too. It was as pleasant to her as to him that he only mentioned the series, and did not try to find out the number of the winning ticket. To torment and tantalize oneself with hopes of possible fortune is so sweet, so thrilling. "It is our series," said Ivan Dmitritch after a long silence. "So there is a probability that we have won. It's only a probability, but there it is." "Well, now look." "Wait a little. We have plenty of time to be disappointed. It's on the second line from the top, so the prize is 75,000. That's not money, but power, capital. And in a minute I shall look at the list, and there, 26, eh? I say, what if we really have won?" The husband and wife began laughing and staring at one another in silence. The possibility of winning bewildered them. They could not have said, could not have dreamed, what they both needed that 75,000 for, what they would buy, where they would go. They thought only of the figures 9499 and 75,000, and pictured them in their imagination, while somehow they could not think of the happiness itself which was so possible. Ivan Dmitritch, holding the paper in his hand, walked several times from corner to corner, and only when he had recovered from the first impression, began dreaming a little. "And if we have won," he said, "why, it will be a new life. It will be a transformation. The ticket is yours, but if it were mine I should, first of all, of course, spend 25,000 on real property in the shape of an estate, 10,000 on immediate expenses, new furnishing, travelling, paying debts, and so on. The other 40,000 I would put in the bank and get interest on it." "Yes, an estate, that would be nice," said his wife, sitting down and dropping her hands in her lap. "Somewhere in the Tula or Oryol provinces. In the first place, we shouldn't need a summer villa, and besides, it would always bring in an income." And pictures came crowding on his imagination, each more gracious and poetical than the last. And in all these pictures he saw himself well fed, serene, healthy, felt warm, even hot. Here, after eating a summer soup, cold as ice, he lay on his back on the burning sand close to a stream, or in the garden under a lime tree. It is hot. His little boy and girl are crawling about near him, digging in the sand or catching ladybirds in the grass. He dozes sweetly, thinking of nothing, and feeling all over that he need not go to the office today, tomorrow, or the day after. Or, tired of lying still, he goes to the hayfield, or to the forest for mushrooms, or watches the peasants catching fish with a net. When the sun sets, he takes a towel and soap and saunters to the bathing shed, where he undresses at his leisure, slowly rubs his bare chest with his hands, and goes into the water. And in the water, near the opaque, soapy circles, little fish flit to and fro, and green water weeds nod their heads. After bathing, there is tea with cream and milk rolls. In the evening, a walk or vint with the neighbours. Yes, it would be nice to buy an estate, said his wife, also dreaming. And from her face it was evident that she was enchanted by her thoughts. Ivan Dmitritch pictured to himself autumn, with its rains, its cold evenings, and its St. Martin's summer. At that season he would have to take longer walks about the garden and beside the river, so as to get thoroughly chilled, and then drink a big glass of vodka and eat a salted mushroom or a soused cucumber, and then drink another. The children would come running from the kitchen garden, bringing a carrot and a radish smelling of fresh earth, and then he would lie stretched full length on the sofa, and in leisurely fashion turn over the pages of some illustrated magazine, or, covering his face with it and unbuttoning his waistcoat, give himself up to slumber. The St. Martin's summer is followed by cloudy, gloomy weather. It rains day and night, the bare trees weep, the wind is damp and cold. The dogs, the horses, the fowls, all are wet, depressed, downcast. There is nowhere to walk, one can't go out for days together. One has to pace up and down the room, looking despondently at the grey window. It is dreary. Ivan Dmitritch stopped and looked at his wife. "I should go abroad, you know, Masha," he said, and he began thinking how nice it would be in late autumn to go abroad somewhere to the south of France, to Italy, to India. "I should certainly go abroad too," his wife said. "But look at the number of the ticket." "Wait, wait!" He walked about the room and went on thinking. It occurred to him, what if his wife really did go abroad? It is pleasant to travel alone, or in the society of light, careless women who live in the present, and not such as think and talk all the journey about nothing but their children, sigh and tremble with dismay over every farthing. Ivan Dmitritch imagined his wife in the train with a multitude of parcels, baskets and bags. She would be sighing over something, complaining that the train made her head ache, that she had spent so much money. At the stations he would continually be having to run for boiling water, bread and butter. She wouldn't have dinner because of its being too dear. She would begrudge me every farthing, he thought, with a glance at his wife. The lottery ticket is hers, not mine. Besides, what is the use of her going abroad? What does she want there? She would shut herself up in the hotel and not let me out of her sight, I know. And for the first time in his life his mind dwelt on the fact that his wife had grown elderly and plain, and that she was saturated through and through with the smell of cooking, while he was still young, fresh, and healthy, and might well have got married again. Of course all that is silly nonsense, he thought, but why should she go abroad? What would she make of it? And yet she would go, of course, I can fancy. In reality it is all one to her, whether it is Naples or Klin. She would only be in my way. I should be dependent upon her. I can fancy how, like a regular woman, she will lock the money up as soon as she gets it. She will hide it from me. She will look after her relations and grudge me every farthing. Ivan Dmitritch thought of her relations. All those wretched brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles would come crawling about as soon as they heard of the winning ticket, would begin whining like beggars and fawning upon them with oily, hypocritical smiles. Wretched, detestable people! If they were given anything, they would ask for more, while if they were refused, they would swear at them, slander them, and wish them every kind of misfortune. Ivan Dmitritch remembered his own relations, and their faces, at which he had looked impartially in the past, struck him now as repulsive and hateful. They are such reptiles, he thought. And his wife's face, too, struck him as repulsive and hateful. Anger surged up in his heart against her, and he thought malignantly, "She knows nothing about money, and so she is stingy. If she won it, she would give me 100 roubles, and put the rest away under lock and key." And he looked at his wife, not with a smile now, but with hatred. She glanced at him too, and also with hatred and anger. She had her own daydreams, her own plans, her own reflections. She understood perfectly well what her husband's dreams were. She knew who would be the first to try and grab her winnings. "It's very nice making daydreams at other people's expense," is what her eyes expressed. "No, don't you dare!" Her husband understood her look. Hatred began stirring again in his breast, and in order to annoy his wife he glanced quickly, to spite her, at the 4th page, on the newspaper, and read out triumphantly, "Series 9499, number 46, not 26." Hatred and hope both disappeared at once, and it began immediately to seem to Ivan Dmitritch and his wife that their rooms were dark and small and low-pitched, that the supper they had been eating was not doing them good, but lying heavy on their stomachs, that the evenings were long and wearisome. "What the devil's the meaning of it?" said Ivan Dmitritch, beginning to be ill-humoured. "Wherever one steps there are bits of paper under one's feet, crumbs, husks. The rooms are never swept. One is simply forced to go out. Damnation take my soul entirely! I shall go and hang myself on the first aspen tree." End of story.
But now it's time for Jessica's Gems. Okay, so this Jessica's Gems is all about the story The Lottery Ticket by Chekhov. You've obviously listened to it, you've looked at the language that was used through the story. Did you like the story, Jessica?
In my opinion, the story reflects the bad aspect of money. Really, it describes how selfish is the human being when they think to have money. So, because Ivan, if I remember well, is the main character, he seems to be satisfied of his life until he thinks to have won the lottery ticket, and then suddenly he spoils all happiness that he had. It's unbelievable.
We have a couple of sayings in English, and I'm sure every language does. We say money is the root of all evil.
Oh, okay.
So the root being, the root as in a vegetable, like the bit that grows underground, but so the base of all evil. And we also say that money corrupts. And I think, but it's quite. I think the story is quite funny. It's also about marriage, isn't it? Like, I liked it. I liked it. But let's talk about some of the language that was used in it.
Yes, of course. I got really. There is a sentence. It got my attention. It was that Ivan Dmitritch was very well satisfied with his lot. So what does satisfied with his lot mean?
Okay. So the main word here is lot.
Yeah, lot.
Okay. Now, any listener will know that word from, the adverb, a lot. meaning, a lot, many, much. So it's a very, very commonly used word, and the word lot is used for many different things. Okay, so any listener should really look at the dictionary and look at the different uses of the word lot. But I can explain that one, the one that they used in the story. He was very satisfied with his lot. That's a phrase. That's a phrase, Jessica. So the phrase goes, if you're satisfied with your lot, it means you're satisfied with your general life situation. So you are either not satisfied with your lot, in other words, general life situation, or you're satisfied with your lot, which is general life situation. So that's a certain phrase where lot is used. So that's an easy one for me. And it's quite often used as well. Now you know that, you will probably hear it at some point.
Okay.
Do you understand? You knew.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
So it's a phrase. There are other phrases with lot, but that's what they meant there. That was a specific phrase, with using the word lot.
Yeah, so we'll check.
Yeah, check further.
Yeah, I will
study
check.
further.
Yeah. The second one I would like to ask you is about the pronunciation of a word.
Mm-hmm.
The list of its drawings or drawings.
Right.
Or say, which pronunciation do you use or prefer?
Yeah, you mentioned this before. This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned this. Now, I prefer, and I'm not saying this is even right.
Okay.
I'm not saying this is right, but I use drawing as in a r sound.
R sound.
Drawing. Now, I checked this one, Jessica, because of what you said to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you check on, say, Macmillan Dictionary, on the Macmillan Dictionary, it should be drawing, without the r sound. But, so that's officially correct, drawing, so no r sound. We put this r sound in. But what was the term? There's a term for this. There's a specific term. You said it's a certain r.
Yeah, I think they called it the R, intrusive R.
Intrusive R.
Okay, I haven't checked it very well, but I know in a certain point when your native speakers connect the speech, they add some letters. In this way, in this case, is they are, so they call it intrusive R, because they put between the two words, for example, or inside a word like drawings.
That's really interesting, because I learn things about my own pronunciation, because you look into these things.
Yeah, but there are several words actually when there are these connected speech.
Right,
but
okay.
Really, it's a big, how I can say, a big topic.
Right, okay. So we can say it's one of these topics that people discuss, debate, what's right, what's wrong. So it seems like a grey area that some people would say drawing, putting the intrusive r sound in there, and some people would say drawing and not put the intrusive. No. Very interesting.
If you check, for example, on internet, because I try to do it, and I listen to drawing. I think that is this, IP pronunciation could be, or RIP, I don't remember. It's an official British English pronunciation, but I'm not sure about it. But I really, because it's drawing or drawing.
Yeah, all I can say is that I would say drawing. Yeah. But I think both are used. Therefore, we can say both are correct.
Yeah. But the speakers in the video use a drawing.
Aha.
Drawings. Yes.
Right. So they pronounce it in the same way as me.
Yes, the same.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we'll leave that one, but that's an interesting area.
Yeah,
That
it is.
native speakers sometimes put sounds in, especially in compounded words, when words are together.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting. All right. That's really good, Jessica.
Or even in the speech when they speak fast.
Yes. All right, that's interesting. Okay, Jessica, what's next? Because you do 5 things, don't you? You've got kind of 5 questions.
Yes, kind of 5. And the number 3,
it's
something about drama. Is a paragraph that it got my attention, and because there is a past modal verb used.
Right.
And because you actually made a video about modal.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it was interesting to see it.
Let me just say to anyone that's listening, I made a video series on modal verbs, but it was based on Jessica's notes, wasn't it? It's based on your sort of journey through grammar. It was both of our efforts, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Okay, what was the sentence?
It's a sentence. If you want, I try to read this paragraph. It's short, don't worry.
Okay.
So, the possibility of winning bewildered them. They could not have said, could not have dreamed what they both needed that 75,000 for, what they would buy, what they would go. So they use this could not have said. So it's this modal verb. It's a structure, particularly structure. Could not have plus past participle. Mm-hmm. It means that something wasn't possible in the past, even you wanted to do. For example, another example, it could be, I couldn't have arrived earlier because the bus was late. So something was not an option. It was not depend on you, of course, but you wanted to do it, but unfortunately you couldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the key thing is you didn't have the possibility. It's not related to ability, but possibility.
The possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in general, the past modal verbs are used to talk about things that didn't really happen in the past.
Yeah.
So
what we can do, Jessica, is we can put links to that particular video in the show notes. We'll do that. So if anyone wants to look at that video and look more closely at the modal verb.
Yeah, because we are talking about this complex modal, so about ability, about probability, but really it's a huge topic.
It's a big subject.
So it's better to...
Yeah, you've got to study that one because modals come up all the time.
All the time, yes. So they are really
very
useful.
Fundamental. Okay. Well, we'll guide people to our videos and hope they help.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Good question.
And then there is another paragraph. In my opinion, is full of adjectives. Mm-hmm. And I like because they describe Ivan is describing his wife's relatives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We have actually a phrase in Italy. Relatives can be snakes. I don't know in English if you have something.
Because we have jokes about your partner's relatives, like mother-in-law jokes.
Yeah, we have.
So, we don't have a phrase that relatives can be snakes.
No, we say simply relatives are like snakes.
Like snakes.
It's a simple way.
Okay, right. Yeah, well, I don't know. But what's interesting is I wonder in every culture whether your partner's relatives have a kind of negative connotation about.
Especially
I
the
don't know.
mothers-in-law.
Yeah, it
Especially
seems to be. Okay, so there's a few words that you want me to try and
yeah, there are.
comment on.
So, yes, for example, there are these the brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles would come crawling about as soon as they heard of the winning ticket, would begin whining like beggars. And is it correct, beggars?
Beggars is correct. The pronunciation is correct. Beggars. Which words do you want me to comment on?
Yes, there are, for example, would come crawling.
Right. First of all, crawling. What? Yeah, crawling. It's like what babies do before they can walk. But we use it if someone crawls around you. It means that they want something from you. Yeah. They want something. So so they would come crawling around. Yeah, what else? What other words?
Yes, would begin whining like beggars.
Right. Whining. If a child whines, it's they would be saying, "Oh, I don't want to go out. Oh, I want this. Oh, I don't want this. I don't like this ice cream." That's whining. Kind of moaning, whining. So whining like beggars, okay, it's used beggars, people that beg for money. But yeah, that's whining. Whining. It's probably the kind of, oh, I haven't got much money. I would like some money. Could you give me some money? Yeah, whining, yeah.
And another one is phoning upon them with only hypocritical smiles. This
right. I think it was oily. Oily.
Yes,
yeah. Oily smiles. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Oily.
Which word do you want there?
Fawning.
Fawning.
Is it that?
Yeah.
Or fawning. Is fawning, in my opinion.
It's fawning. 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 So it's the or sound like door. Fawning.
Yes, yes, a girl door. Is that?
Yes, yeah. Not girl. No, not girl.
No, sorry, door. Sorry, I was checking another word.
Yeah, you're thinking. Yeah, so it's the same sound as in door, jaw.
It's the same door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's fawning. Fawning. Yeah. Mm. Okay, to fawn is when you are especially nice to someone because you somehow think that they're higher than you. Okay. So it's like, someone could be fawning around a member of the royal family. Oh, you look so handsome today, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. That suit looks so great on you. Looks fantastic. Excellent. That's fawning. Someone who's being especially nice to someone they believe is higher. So if he suddenly won 75,000, was it pounds? I don't know, or lots of money on the lottery, the relatives would be sort of seeing him higher, and they would be saying, "Oh, Ivan," I would say Ivan, but Ivan,
okay.
you're so amazing. You're such a talented man. So yeah, fawning over him. And okay, any other words in there?
The last one. This, I can fancy. I mean,
yes,
the word fancy.
That's a good word you've picked up on there, Jessica, because fancy is used so commonly in British English. In British English, it is a very, very common word, and it means different things. Okay? We often use fancy if we really want something. Like I could say, oh, I really fancy an ice cream. Mm-hmm. Oh, I really fancy drinking some white wine. It means I want something. I would really like it. So that's used a lot. I really fancy a roast dinner. I really fancy spaghetti. Something like that. It means you want it. That's one meaning, and that's a very, very common one. Second, another meaning is when you're sexually attracted to someone. So, I don't know, she fancies the boy next door. Means she's sexually attracted to the boy next door. Did you know that, Jessica? Did you know there was
the second one
used,
not.
very, very used in British English. To fancy someone is to be attracted to someone. Okay, and that's really used. So there are two common uses. One, you fancy an ice cream. Two, you fancy the girl next door, the boy next door. They're the two of the most common. There are other meanings with fancy. There are phrases. You know, I wrote a couple down because you've mentioned that fancy was one of the things we were going to speak about today. There are to fancy someone for something. To fancy someone for something means I could say something like, I fancy the football team, Manchester United, to win the league next year. It's kind of, you think, you predict. So that's a phrase. You fancy someone or something to do something, or fancy one's chances. I fancy my chance with getting that job. But, you know, look into it. It's another one of those words. Like lot, it's used in different contexts, and there's a lot to it. So, you know, do a little bit of study on fancy.
Yeah.
And it sounds, it's a very native word.
Yeah.
As well.
Usually they don't teach you.
No, these are the kind
at school. I know, because
you don't get on many courses.
No, fancy not. Absolutely
so
not.
some of these very common words slip through and people don't use them.
You have been listening to the English on Air podcast. We hope it was okay and you follow us. For lots of free English learning material, visit our website and visit us again. All the best.